Feliz Navidad. Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas. Fröhliche Weihnachten, I think it is, isn't it? Felicidades. La Navidad. El Navidad. La Navidad. I fell asleep last night. That was the 24th post about the horseradish equation, which somebody I noticed a couple of hours ago picked me up on it and said, you said in previous videos that you, before you comment on something, that you learn about it. Like I wouldn't comment on something not knowing what I'm talking about. But I do know what I'm talking about because it's horseradish. Because there is no time delay. We can see that in a solar eclipse. And I did then go on to say, what is your explanation for a solar eclipse with finite light, with Mickey Mouse photons taking 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach us from the sun? There is no logical explanation. That is BS. It's all made up rubbish. It is. This is the common sense thing. For those people, what's on the floor? For those people, right, who cannot work it out, yeah, it's a shocker. And I understand how confronting it must be. But this is where it's at. This is why I say common sense and logic. When people are talking about speed of light, and this does that, and it defies common sense and logic. Because it does. Because anything that would suggest that there is a delay, a light delay, defies logic and common sense, because there is none. It's obvious during the solar eclipse. So that whole side of science is made up. It's a fact. Now, these are the facts. Yeah, but what about GPS? If you don't even go there. Doesn't mean a thing. What's going on here? It's been charging, isn't it? Oh. Could start this segment again, couldn't I? So that was charged. Huh. Oh, look, I'll do that after. So, this is how black and white this is, right? There is no delay, no light delay. And we know this because the biggest cosmic event ever that we have every year somewhere on this planet, it's obvious what's happening. The moon blocks the sun. There is no photon involved, or photons. They're invisible, they're packets. Invisible massless packets of invisible massless nothings, not photons. How can you have an invisible and massless packet of invisible massless things? I mean, just that is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Merry Christmas, right? See how the blood pressure goes up. So this is a load of crap, all of it. Not to mention, which is a fictive extra distance that light has to travel. It's staring people right in the face. It is an absurdity. There is no light delay. The whole shebang has been made up. It's turned into a Christmas special. We're not going to just do a hadn't even thought of one yet, but why would we? We have a ton of absurdities. We have 10 of them already. No, 11. The time delay from last night. That's 11 days. Number 11 on the 24th. Today, it's a special. All of them. All right? Now, what is the whole argument here? What is the whole argument? The whole argument, it's about the lies that come with 299,792,458 meters per second. It's about what was said in 1905 allegedly by Einstein. For me, he's just a figurehead. He's somebody that they just kept pushing around in different places. Right, take a picture there. Just turn around, Einstein. Smile. And here's Einstein at one of the latest conventions. he doesn't look and act like an Einstein, even though you know what I'm saying. Look, one thing is for sure, the photon, it's Mickey Mouse. We know this, a solar eclipse. Every single solar eclipse to ever take place in this universe has always played out like they do, like we see, with no light delay. It's the sun, it's the actual light source itself that is being blocked. It's absolute light. There's no delay. There is no delay. It's illogical. 8 minutes and 20 seconds to get here from the sun. We wouldn't know the sun had turned off for 8 minutes and 20 seconds if it turned off. You can see it with your eyes. You don't wait for photons, for crying out loud. Merry Christmas, everybody. Let's keep it nice and light. All right? Fucking photons. Oh, come on. You can stop it now. Now, you know what's interesting? Last night I put that little clip on of old Brian of Coxey trying not to laugh as he's talking about the Schwarzschild metric, and he's trying not to laugh. The program is called Space-Time is Not Real, The Emerging Truth. Brian Cox, Joe Rogan and Neil deGrasse Tyson. The Cosmic Perspective. 93,000 views. It's only 7 days old. I missed that last night. I was tired. Didn't think of looking how old or it's new. It's a week old. Listen, space-time is not real. The emerging truth. What? Space, of course it's not real, but the emerging truth. This should have been nutted out in 1905 with Einstein over a cup of tea and biscuits. Einstein. But the solar eclipse, mate. Photons. Oh, yeah. Then it's done. But no, 120 years later, space-time is not real. The emerging truth. They need to speed this up, seriously. But listen, because I still haven't heard all of it. But I did, after seeing that, I went back, didn't I? And paid a little bit more attention to what was being said. Not real. Space-time is not real. The emerging truth. Listen to this.
Yeah, and it's a good question about how are you to picture the existence of solid this existence in terms of quantum fields. It's a rather abstract underlying description. So that's absolutely true.
Okay.
But you're right when you said that they're just the particles of we'd say the excitations in the field.
Gotcha. All right. Very cool. Can you start with the standard model and derive quantum field theory from it?
No, the standard model is a quantum field theory. So, and there are lots of what we call free parameters. So that ultimately things are put in by hand, and there are a lot of them.
Does that make
put in by hand?
Standard model that much less satisfying to you as?
It's not complete. It's certainly not complete. I mean, for example, one of the most wonderful examples is that. So
he's trying not to laugh. Right. I don't want to. It's too much to show faces now. Just the voice is enough. But I find this so funny, right?
How many matter particles are there in the standard model? So to make up you and me. So what's the minimal description of us? It's up quarks, down quarks, and electrons. That's it. And the up quarks and down quarks make protons and neutrons, which sit inside the atomic nucleus, and the electrons go around to make the atoms, and that's it, right? 3 ingredients, basically. And there's another one called the electron neutrino, of which there are a lot streaming through our head now from the nuclear reactions in the sun. So 4 things, that's it. Now it turns out that there are also 2 copies of that set. So there's a thing called the charm quark and the strange quark, and the muon and the muon neutrino. So the muon, for example, it's a heavy electron. It's identical in every way except it's heavier. And then there's another set, the top quark and the bottom quark, and the tau neutrino. So 3 sets of these things. So the one that makes up everything, and then another 2. Why? We don't know. We don't know why there are 3 sets.
So
If there was 4, they would be saying, but we don't know why there are 4. If there was 2, they'd be saying, yeah, but we don't know why there are 2. If there was only 1, they would be saying, but we can't understand why there's only 1. Why wouldn't there be more of them? If there was 20, they'd be saying, we don't know why there are 20. If there was 80, they'd be saying, yeah, but we don't know why there are 80. It doesn't matter what number of how many there are, there was always going to be somebody going, but why are there only X amount? These are questions that don't make any sense. They don't. Not even considering what they're talking about, we don't even know there is any. Anyway, but it's a kind of dead question, if you know what I mean.
It's a good
so
one,
the
but-
particles of the universe are in triplicate,
Yeah.
except we are familiar only with that lowest energy regime,
Yeah.
with electrons
And then we discovered the other ones, and
Yeah.
we with some very straight little caveats. We know there are no more than 3.
why not? How do you know there are no more than 3?
Because it was, so the caveats are very weak, but so at the LEP collider at CERN, throughout the 1980s, 1990s, that machine was built in the 80s, it was run through the 90s. And
Did you have a position at CERN for a while?
Yeah, so I worked on as we were building the LHC, I worked on some ideas for little detectors close to the beams and so on the Atlas experiment. Before that, there was an electron-positron collider there called LEP, which was in the same tunnel. And that was really a factory to make things called Z bosons, or Z bosons, as I call them. And they're to do with one of the forces of nature, the weak force. And by measuring exactly the what's called the lifetime, the behaviour, let's say, of that particle, you can see how many things it can decay into. Because basically the general rule in particle physics is if you're very massive and you can fall to bits into lighter things, then you will. And the more chance there is, the more things you can fall to bits into, the more rapidly you fall to bits, right, basically. So you can measure how many particles this thing can decay into. And so with some caveats about other generations, as we call them, being extremely heavy, and you wouldn't see them, then you can see how many different kinds of particle this thing can fall into. So it's a very famous measurement. So we're sure that there are these 3 copies.
3 and only 3.
But that looks like the periodic table of the elements, Mendeleev, going back all those years ago. So the pattern that you can see that we all learn at school in the chemical elements, and there's an underlying reason for that, which is quantum mechanics and the way that everything works. But so there will be a reason why there are only those 3 families, but we don't know what it is.
Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
It could be that.
That's the
Got it,
reason.
Chuck.
So yeah. So there's a lot of that in this.
Basically, it's just so made up. Where are these things? Where are these atoms? Neutrinos are going through our head right now. I don't feel anything. There's all this stuff, but everything comes down to one thing, right? There is a stepping stone. Everybody has this stepping stone in front of them at some time during the year on this planet. It's called a solar eclipse. The solar eclipse, it is a gauge. It is a gauge that measures common sense. It is, because it just is. We know that the moon moves in front of the sun, don't we? We can see it happening. Right? So the moon ends up casting a shadow as its light, as it blocks the photons is being said, right? But anybody who has seen a solar eclipse, right? These are the facts, right? It doesn't matter what anybody else says or what equipment they use to explain it, right? This is as good as an explanation you will get anywhere. And it's absolute light. It doesn't matter what people try and turn it into. I'm not stupid. I've got a pretty good track record with absurdities. And 299,792 kilometers per second is so ridiculous. It's made up. And they've milked it for all they can. Talking about stuff. And that is what I mean when I say some things are not important. And they have turned this light thing into a circus. It's light. They have brainwashed people into thinking that it's important. It isn't. It means nothing. And as soon as people can claim knowledge that cannot be known, as soon as they can talk people into they've claimed knowledge that everybody would like to know, the absurdities are buckling the door. They're pushing against the door. And as soon as people believe one or two things, the doors open like a cinema, a hit movie, and the absurdities pile in. And they take a seat. And they stay. And then, with something as illogical as photons, and science telling people that it doesn't care about their common sense, well then you are at the mercy of liars and charlatans. And it's been happening, I don't know that since 1905, they reckon Einstein 1905, but I reckon the timelines are all wrong. So, we have the sun's light, and I repeat, this right here, where there's footage online, people have seen them with their own two eyes, in the flesh. Where is the light delay? There is none. There is no light delay. Once you fully understand, right, it's not about what I can talk people into. I'm not trying to talk people into believing that it's absolute light, right? I'm trying to make people understand that they have a solar eclipse in front of them. From there on, why do they need anybody to tell them that it's absolute light? And why would they believe anybody who says there are photons involved and they take 8 minutes and 20 seconds? Because that is clearly not the case, is it? No, that's the line that goes through the middle. Thought it was a little bit low down. See, that's what happens when you don't focus on the job in hand. And I blame that on all of you, because I'm perfect. It was not my fault, okay? It was you lot who made me draw that line wrong. You know there's people like that. The people out there, they will refuse to be wrong. They cannot be wrong. And something like this, wow. Now it seems so obvious. It always does though, after, doesn't it? Guys, you didn't have a choice. And that is a fact. You had no choice but to believe what you were taught, because you were taught it from a young age. And there is nothing you can do. Nothing you can do. You just have to accept what you're being told, because you trust that the grown-ups who are in charge of the children are going to do the right thing. We've seen that they don't, right? And this is where it starts. Education. People want change. Everybody wants change. We will not get much change in our lifetimes, but it's how you raise the children. That is the direction the planet will go. If you carry on letting NASA educate the children, they'll think they're freaking living on Mars by 2040 somehow. It's illogical. If nobody was benefiting from it, right, and it wasn't harmful, it would be different. But people are benefiting from it, and many aren't. And those who aren't are being led down a garden path that has no end. All of this illogical stuff, telling people that the stars are not where they seem to be, because it took light that long to get here, that the stars you see might already be snuffed out. Rubbish. You're seeing them live. It's absolute light. A light source will radiate its light as far as it's going to go, bang, at absolute speed. You see those stars up there, not because light has travelled after the event, but because they are powerful enough to be seen from exactly where they are. Your eyesight picks any light source up in the night sky if it is powerful enough that it will reach your eyes. Not photons. Powerful enough that your eyes can detect it where it's at. Photons coming towards our retinas. How do we know? Because there's no freaking delay. That's why. So, you're on the sweet spot, in the sweet spot on planet Earth. I go on about this a lot, right? But it's really, really important that people understand how really, really important this is. It's the solar eclipse. You look up and you see the moon blocking the sun. Bang! 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Where? This is it right here. The people who are trying to find reasons for it are trying to justify it by any means possible. And that includes GPS, LIGO, LIDAR, rangefinders. How does it work? It has to be 299792. There has to be photons because that's how the LIDAR and the GPS work. They're set. But for that speed, rubbish. Absolute horseradish. Whether they are or whether they're not. I'm not claiming to know how that stuff works. This is another thing. If they have managed to talk you into believing there is an 8-minute and 20-second light delay in the light coming from the sun, don't you think that they'd be able to fool you to believe that GPS is working on a light that is travelling at 299,792 kilometers per second? Of course they would. See, you take the hook, the line, and you put the sinker in your pocket as well. You've taken all of the bait. Understanding about the solar eclipse, it does away with all of that side of life. If people can look up at that sun when there's a solar eclipse, right, or even with a fake moon, right, you will work out that there is no delay. It's not about what I'm not trying to talk anybody, well I am, I'm trying to talk people into thinking for themselves, because then you will be able to work that out, right? That's what this is about. You shouldn't need anybody to tell you what the light from the sun, how fast it's travelling. You shouldn't, nobody should. Because solar eclipse, look at the footage, and where's the 8 minutes and 20? There is none. So that's it right there, boom. Now, it doesn't matter what anybody tries to tell me, how many Mickey Mouse equations for time dilation or this or gravitational wave theory, or I know that it's all a load of absolute bullshit. Because I can fully understand what I'm looking at in the sky. My star is being blocked by the moon that has never been landed on by anybody in real time. When they talk about the sun's corona, they talk about it's a good time to study the sun because the moon is in front of it. It's the only time that they can do it. What does all that say to people? It's insane what an absurdity-based education can do for children, right? Because the amount of people believing these absurdities, and it causes the division. But what do you do? What do you say to those people who have, for 20, 30 years, always believed that, right? You have to say to them, have a look at a solar eclipse and re-evaluate. Where is the light delay? Stop making up reasons and excuses for it, but find it on a personal level, on just you. You don't need 20 people to do this. You look at a solar eclipse without any noise around you, and you will find that it's absolute light. There is no delay. And then, at one of these science fairs, next time you put your hand up. Say, excuse me, Mr. Cox, Mr. Green, Mr. Tyson there. The photons, how, a solar eclipse, how does it work? You can see that they're denying even hearing from me. I give up. This is not about anything other than getting people to think for themselves. Once you start to think for yourself and you understand this big one, when somebody says to you, oh, the speed of light this, or gravitational waves, or scientists have discovered another exoplanet just like Earth, 8 billion light years away, as soon as they say light year, you'll know that that's bullshit. There's no such thing as a light year. There isn't. If you can see a light source in the night sky, you're seeing it because it is powerful enough for your eyes to detect. They use telescopes. They're not looking into the past. A telescope is bringing everything a little bit closer. You know, it's a telescope. So all of a sudden you're seeing stuff that you couldn't see with the naked eye. That doesn't make it happening last week. You're seeing it exactly where it is, as it is, but through a freaking telescope. You're not looking back at last Sunday. It's so stupid. And it all comes from understanding that there is no light delay during a solar eclipse. Communications to Mars. Communications to anywhere, even to the Voyager, the claims that are being made. Understanding again that there is no delay, because from the sweet spot on planet Earth, the moon is blocking the sun in real time. As soon as that moon moves that last 100th of an inch, bang, sun goes out. It's a laser-like light. And you can see the sun's corona. There's no delay, right? Light is timeless. If there is a light that is going to reach somewhere, it's already reached. It doesn't take time. It's so obvious, right? It's so obvious. Now, Mars. Ingenuity, perseverance, curiosity, all of them. What do they say? They say that it takes on average 10 minutes, depending on where we are and where Mars is in its orbit around the sun. All right? Now, I think you're going to find out that it's not like that at all. We know, well, those of you who can think for yourselves and know about solar eclipse, you know there is no light delay. 299792, it's a stupid number that has been plucked out, close to 300,000, to make everybody's life easier, right? But Roma, no. Bradley, no. fit so. No, none of them. None of them. They're absurdities, all of them. We call Ingenuity on Mars, and it takes 10 minutes to get there. Depending on what Ingenuity is doing, because it's got an autonomous program, so you wouldn't expect Ingenuity to answer straight away, because it could be doing something else. Autonomous program, it gives NASA time to do other stuff, right? And then, let's say, Ingenuity's busy, 30 minutes go by, and then it replies, hey, I didn't land where I said I was yesterday, I've gone over to another field, because thanks for the autonomous program. The reason there is a delay in between receiving and sending, right, is because of the speed of light. 299, that's how they say everything travels, right? But I'm saying it doesn't. I'm saying that radio waves will turn out to be exactly the same as light. If you are within range, you can hear it. If a radio has 500 kilometers range, and you put somebody on kilometer 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way until the last person where I can't hear it, I can't hear a thing. If somebody presses a send back the button where everybody hears static, everybody will hear the static at the same time. The same as everybody would see the light at the same time. It's not going to be a delay from when the person presses the static button or the send button or Morse code button or whatever you want to call it button. There's not going to be a delay between the first, second, third, all the way down to the last 500th guy, because it's got a range of 500 kilometers. They will all hear that at the same time. Transmitting light. They'll all see it at the same time. The bigger and more powerful the light source, when we get to the size of the sun, it radiates its light that much further, but at absolute speed. Boom! So, all of a sudden, if you understand the importance of common sense and the importance of rational thought processes, logic, by understanding that there is no light delay between the sun, the moon, and the shadow finally reaching Earth 8 minutes and 20 seconds plus 1.3 seconds later, you will fully understand that the 299792 photon thing is pure caca. It's caca. And then you might go, absolute light. There's just no delay. There isn't. There's no delay. So, how does communication work? And then a set of thought processes. You don't expect it to happen overnight, but when you are familiar with logic and common sense, the most complicated problem becomes a piece of cake. Because common sense and logic just go in seconds few and will leave you with multiple answers for any problem, right? It's the importance of logic and common sense together. Well, look, just make sure NASA sweeps the fucking runways properly. That's all we can ask for, isn't it? That money, people homeless on the streets. And I don't understand, people don't understand the seriousness, the deception of what is going on here, right? And making people stupid. They are making people stupid. You've totally piggybacked the real science, the real equations, the real working out, and you've gone straight to the speed of light. You've got no building blocks. They've just thrown you in at the deep end into a land of sea full of sharks. And you're just flapping about. There's no base anywhere. Everything's just open-ended. Quantum this, spooky action at a distance or whatever. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's been fabricated to confuse people. It's been fabricated when they claim knowledge about stuff that cannot be known, and they pretend to know it. Then of course everybody's like, oh, they're clever, aren't they? Books, ooh, look, ooh. Next thing you know, boom, 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 boom. Everybody's believing absurdities. Then we got to the age, the digital age, and of course the absurdities through the roof. Now all they have to do is post on social media a couple of things. Scientists have discovered that whatever, people believe it. The comments are scary. But the crimes are happening when children are children. That's where it all starts. And the system, when I was a kid, school was so far away from me. Even I was going to school, but they had no power over me. Now, kids, it's like they're going into an army barracks. The discipline and there's a reason for it. They're trying to crush their spirits before they become adults, so then the governments can take over. Schools aren't teaching the kids anything, nothing important. They need to teach them common sense, the basics, how to regulate their emotions, how to deal with drugs and addictions, not to beat women up, to not hit women, domestic violence. You teach the children. You don't just keep patching them up as they're adults. Glad that missed. It's just, how can people not see it? Right? You want the system fixed. The children, you teach them proper knowledge, something that's useful, not that's going to make them lose their common sense. You don't tell them that this subject doesn't care about their common sense, so drop it. Just believe everything we tell you. That's just BS. I can feel myself, I can feel the blood. I might have to go and have a breather. It's just annoying, right? Liars and charlatans. All of those kids with logical minds who have been sat, listening, trying to work out what is being said. And they end up fidgeting. And then they're told that they have some disorder and that they need fucking drugs. They're struggling because what they're being taught is illogical. It wasn't supposed to be like this, right? It wasn't supposed to be like this. You didn't come here and you're born and they own you and you have to believe everything they say. It's bullshit, especially when the lies are so obvious. Look, I'm going to leave it here before I get myself into trouble. I will be back later and we will carry on this friendly chat, okay? It's about thinking for yourselves, right? Then I can go on holiday. There is no light delay, guys. Solar eclipse, anything that you put in front of a light source, they line up perfectly, okay? It's kind of that basic. So when they tell you about Mickey Mouse photons, you get your baseball bat, you wait for the pitcher to throw it, and then you knock it out of the freaking stadium for a home run. All right, folks. 38 minutes, dang. All right, latest peeps.